just a song before I go, to whom it may concern. Traveling twice the speed of sound, it's easy to get burned. When the shows were over, we had to get back home. And when we opened up the door, I had to be alone. She helped me with my suitcase. She stands before my eyes, driving me to the airport and to the friendly skies. Going through security, I held her for so long. She finally looked at me in love, and she was gone. Just a song before I go, a lesson to be learned. Traveling twice the speed of sound, it's easy to get burned.
Well, it's not far down to paradise, at least it's not for me. And if the wind is right, you can sail away and find tranquility. Oh, the canvas can do miracles, just you wait and see. Believe me, it's not far to Never Land. Reason to pretend, and if the wind is right, you can find the joy of innocence again. Oh, the canvas can do miracles, just you wait and see. Believe me. Sailing takes me away to where I've always heard it. Just a dream in the wind that carried me. Soon I will be free.
there's one thing in my life that's missing, it's the time that I spend alone, sailing on the cool and bright clear waters. There's lots of those friendly people, they're showing me ways to go, and I never want to lose their inspiration. Time for a cool change. I know that it's time for a cool change. Now that my life is so prearranged, I know that it's time for a cool change. Well, I was born in the sign of water, and it's there that I feel my best. The albatross and the whales, they are my brothers. It's kind of a special feeling when you're out on the sea alone, staring at the full moon like a lover. Time for a cool change. I know that it's time for a cool change. Now that my life is so prearranged, I know that it's time for a cool change. Well, I've never been romantic, and sometimes I don't care. I know it may sound selfish, but let me breathe the air. If there's one thing in my life that's missing, it's the time that I spend alone, sailing on the cool and bright clear waters. It's kind of a special feeling when you're out on the sea alone, staring at the full moon like a lover. Time for a cool change. I know that it's time for a cool change. Now that my life is so prearranged, I know it's time for a cool change. 'Cause people telling me wherever I go, it's time for a cool change. I know it's time for a cool change. Now that my life is so prearranged, I know it's time for a cool change. Yes it is, yes it is, yes it is. You know it's time for a cool change. Oh yeah, yeah, a cool change.
Don't know much about history, don't know much biology, don't know much about a science book, don't know much about about the French I took. But I do know that I love you, and I know that if you love me too, what a wonderful world this would be. Don't know much about geography, don't know much trigonometry, don't know much about algebra, don't know what a slide rule is for, but I do know 1 and 1 is 2. And if this one could be with you, what a wonderful world this would be. Now, I don't claim to be an A student, but I'm trying to be. For maybe by being an A student, baby, I can win your love for me. Don't know much about history, don't know much biology, don't know much about a science book, don't know much about the French I took, but I do know that I love you, and I know that if you love me too, what a wonderful world this would be. La ta 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 ta. History, biology, well, la ta 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 ta. Science book, French I took. Yeah, but I do know that I love you, and I know that if you love me too, what a wonderful world this would be.
Well, I know it's kinda late. I hope I didn't wake you, but what I've gotta say can't wait. I know you'd understand. 'Cause every time I tried to tell you, the words just came out wrong. So I have to say I love you in a song. Yeah, I know it's kinda strange. Every time I'm near you, I just run out of things to say. I know you'd understand. 'Cause every time I tried to tell you, the words just came out wrong. So I'll have to say I love you in a song. Something that I just gotta say. I know you'd understand. Every time I tried to tell you, the words just came out wrong. So I have to say I love you in a song.
Chance to meet some old friends on the street. They wonder, how does a man get to be this way? I've always got a smiling face, anytime and any place, And every time they ask me why, I just smile and say, you've got to kiss an angel good morning and let her know you think about her when you're gone. Kiss an angel good morning and love her like the devil when you get back home. Well, people may try to guess the secret of a happiness, but some of them never learn it's a simple thing. The secret I'm speaking of is a woman and a man in love, and the answer is in this song that I always sing. You've got to kiss an angel good morning and let her know you think about her when you're gone. Kiss an angel good morning and love her like the devil when you get back home. Kiss an angel good morning and let her know you think about her when you're gone. Kiss an angel good morning and love her like the devil when you get back home.
These mist-covered mountains are a home now for me, but my home is the lowlands, and always will be. Someday you'll return to your valleys and your farms, and you'll no longer burn to be brothers in through these fields of destruction, baptisms of fire, I've witnessed your suffering as the battle raged high, and though it had hurt me so bad, in the fear and alarm, you did not desert me, my brothers in arms. different ones. Now the sun's gone to hell, the moon's riding high. Let me bid you farewell. Every man has to die, but it's written in the stars. In every line in your palm, we're fools to make war on our brothers in arms.
If I could save time in a bottle, the first thing that I'd like to do is to save every day till eternity passes away, just to spend them with you. If I could make days last forever, if words could make wishes come true, I'd save every day like a treasure, and then again I would spend them with you. But there never seems to be enough time to do the things you want to do once you find them. I've looked around enough to know you're the one I want to go through time with. If I had a box just for wishes and dreams that had never come true, the box would be empty except for the memory of how they were answered by you. But there never seems to be enough time to do the things you want to do once you find them. I've looked around enough to know that you're the one I want to go through time with.
You sheltered me from harm, kept me warm, kept me warm. You gave my life to me, set me free, set me free. The finest years I ever knew.
I believe for every drop of rain that falls, a flower grows. I believe that somewhere in the darkest night, a candle glows. I believe for everyone who goes astray, someone will come to show the way. I believe, I believe, I believe above the storm, the smallest prayer will still be heard. I believe that someone in the grave somewhere hears every word. Every time I hear a newborn baby cry, or touch a leaf, or see the sky, then I know why I believe. Every time I hear a newborn baby cry, or touch a leaf, or see the sky, then I know why I
Morena, welcome folks. My name is Woody. It's a really hard act to follow the high marks, but John made me do it. More of that later. It's a very special event. It's a privilege, it's an honour to help out the Bowman whānau today. And I take that very seriously, but there'll be laughter, there'll be tears, there'll be blame. Like any good police funeral, no one will really know what actually happened. Promise, John. Before we get started, just some guidance as we navigate our way through this event that was 81 years in the making. So it's very special. Thank you for travelling from far and wide, for being here. A special welcome up there out in internet world. Around Australia, we've got Christchurch folk, we've got the UK, Ireland, everywhere who's joining us for this very special service. You are welcome. We miss you, and big aroha to you. Also, just let me acknowledge mana whenua. This place is very special to the Bowman whānau. The family has had an amazing experience, as we all do, living here in Kapiti, and we acknowledge the deep, deep roots and the support of mana whenua for the family and for this event. How will we roll today? This service will need your involvement. Please make sure you've got one of these. It is beautifully prepared. Thank you, Penny B, and the mighty Scott, and all those who put this together. For those of you in uniform, relax. There's no test at the end of this, but you will be asked to refer to it. So please, if you haven't got one, just indicate and we'll get one to you. At the end of this service, there will be a time to hui, kōrero, speak, tell your own stories, share a delightful looking bit of home cooking I saw with the ladies out the back, just checking. That will be at the end of this service. After that, there will be a movement of the hearse and a guard of honour, and then a private family committal. Our plan as we go through is you will hear from different people, painting a picture of a man who served, a man who loved nature and had other instructions, more on that later. Please, before we start, just adjust your phones. If they go off, there's a $20 fine that goes to Mary Potter Hospice. They love phones going off. The record is $800 at one funeral, I'm told. So please adjust your phones so we don't have to have that, unless you feel like making a donation. I just want to honour and make mention of the past, which is how we came to be here today. John's connections and family line, whakapapa, with Celtic, European, Ngāi Tahu influences. They're gained from the mighty South Island, God's own, as well as a deep, long love affair with this part of this amazing Wellington, Kapiti region. It was gained from a deep, long-term love of community, the special coast, the mountains, diving, fishing, hill country, hunting, even a bit of work occasionally happened. Here's how I know you're going to be an important part of this event, and here's a tip I stole from the Bowmans when I first met them a long time ago. Please imagine in your minds an inky black night. Rain was falling. We were on an unknown hillside. That's not lost, that's just an unknown hillside, lying in some tussock. The deer had not shown up. They apparently had not been told we were there. A conversation broke out amongst John, the late Dave Bowman, his son, and a good hunting / poaching mate of ours, Tea Rooms Murray. The conversation was carried out in hushed tones, and it went something like this. How the bloody hell do you do this work, life, wife, stuff? God, driving me nuts. And the hui went on. And then at a moment, as I lay there listening to this, trying not to laugh, there may have been a taste or two of the good stuff involved in this. John came out and said, bloody straightforward, do your best, play your part. Do your best? Oh, this is interesting. Play your part. Can handle that. So folks, that's what we're going to do today. We are going to do our best, and I'm asking you, please, all of you, play your part. There will be a chance to sing. Please sing. There will be a chance to kōrero, to communicate, to acknowledge, to listen. Please do all of those things. Most importantly, please acknowledge and enjoy hearing the life of service of John Morris Bowman. Now, a test, the first waiata of the day. We're going to ask our group to lead us, please. If you can stand and it's comfortable, please do so. And sing like nobody can hear you, because we will all enjoy that. Okay. Our first waiata. Okay. My soul, my this is my soul, my Savior. Oh, down many. Please be seated, folks. What a wonderful, wonderful start for our journey today to understand more about this remarkable fellow we're here to acknowledge. Let's just go back a bit and see the setup. All good coppers know what it means to be given orders, a mission. I wasn't a cop, but I was in a couple of services over the course of my life where they had similar ways of doing stuff. So senses of humour are essential. Let's just get a word or two in about that. John had a wicked sense of humour. All of us could appreciate that humour and practical jokes, particularly in tough spots or doing difficult work or facing difficult situations in the armed services, responders, particularly in policing, is a vital part of coping. And what can be very challenging, fast-changing events, really hard and awful moments are helped with humour. Sometimes the people you're using the humour with don't even know. They seem to particularly enjoy that type of humour. So when I was summoned to John's bedside a few days back, he took much delight in keeping a very poker face. Then he started to grin, never a good sign, I found. A grin like he knew stuff that was going to be awkward for me. And that's exactly what happened. Woodham, you're running my funeral. Go and get a notebook, take some notes. Inspector Bowman was back, it would appear. His writing instructions will surprise nobody. Very direct and to the point. Typical for a bloke who was the boss of many people in his time. He gained the important rank of inspector, not by politics, not by kissing bottoms, not winning it in a raffle at the Christmas party, but by old-fashioned frontline policing. He loved it, and he loved those that were involved in frontline policing. He was what we'd call, technically, a no-bullshit old-school cop. So, I prepared to take notes. Right, none of that bloody God stuff. He's pissed me off. I'm not happy at all with his efforts, in my life anyway. Good luck with yours. By this time, I have no notes, am struggling to take it all in. Things not going as well as I hoped, and we're in our first sentence. Right. There's something bloody sneaky and wonderful, though, I haven't figured out yet. Jot it down. Nature. Thinking it might have been my nature that's caused offence and I haven't said anything. A common problem in my life. Nature, Woodham. Everything around you. Bloody amazing. Ever noticed it? Well, there's $20. We'll get a name. You beauty. Graham, we'll get this young fellow. He's probably got 40. It's a nice top.
Sorry.
It's all right. Mary Potter Hospice are awesome. Bloody nature. There's something about it. Sneaky. It's everywhere. Haven't figured this out. It's got to be mentioned. All of it. Sea, land, mountains. God knows, but I've walked around plenty of it. I was thinking to myself, you didn't always see much or shoot much either. I didn't say that. I'm not that courageous. I love nature, Woody, all my life, mate. Such an amazing country, NZ. I've seen a lot of it. Still owes me a few deer. We can vouch for that, John. But that's on me. I was never a bloody sniper. Good self-awareness, I thought. Also, take bloody note. Tell them how hard me and the cops I worked with tried to do the right thing. We tried to do the right thing, Woody, for our people, even when it was near impossible. Those bloody Wahine storms, I can still feel it in my bones. I can still see the people I was hanging on to. Trying to save people, worst possible conditions. You make sure people know how hard we try. The communities we worked in, trying to make the best of bad situations for others, you flip and tell them, especially Kapiti. Great place. Tell them, mate, we did our best, every damn one of us. Okay, John. No worries, said the most worried man in Kapiti, if not the world. So, folks, here we are. I've sweated bullets over this, and it's all his fault. John, it's noted. We're going to take through this service, nature, and what it means to serve, to put others before yourself. Probably the toughest thing you can ever try and do in your life. I challenge us to do it. Others before self. So let's find out more about John. We're going to ask the family to get involved here. Then we're going to have some colleagues, some people who were there when some of these very special things happen. Some of them may even be true. Who knows? But I welcome you in coming to an understanding of what this marvellous person in our lives has been. Could we start, please, with Daniel? Welcome, Daniel.
We're going to stand together.
Oh, good on you, Jenny.
Might need the box.
And for the internet, you've got to just...
Oh, yes, of course. Thank you. Morning, all. I'm Daniel. I'll be sharing some words on behalf of the grandkids. I want to start today with a few special thanks. Firstly, to Granddad's medical team and everyone at Mary Potter Hospice. Your care and professionalism were greatly appreciated by Nan, Granddad and the family, and we cannot thank you enough for all that you have done. Secondly, to everyone who's been so generous with their time and cooking over Granddad's final days. I know that for those who are able to visit, Granddad took a lot of comfort in your presence and in reliving the good times, as did the rest of the family. John Morris Bowman, a trio of words that mean something different to everyone in the room today. Husband, father, grandfather, cop, outdoorsman, mate. A humble man of humble desires, someone who believed meat seasoned with anything beyond salt and pepper was woke nonsense. The 4 F's were very important in Granddad's life. Family, friends, fishing, and the fucking pokies. And not necessarily in that order. While I'll never understand the attraction to the latter, it's comforting to know that Grandad's legacy lives on in my brother Zach, who appears to have inherited his love of a few slaps. Some of my favourite memories with Grandad were spent in and around the water. As you'll hear from the other speakers, Grandad has a proud history of diving and skippering. This love of the ocean was imparted onto my dad, Dave, and subsequently onto me and Zach, and for that I'll be eternally grateful. The Kapiti coast proved happy fishing grounds for most of Grandad's life, and he truly did know Kapiti Island like the back of his hand. Every trip out to the island was a chance to make new memories, share old ones, and pass on a few lessons to the next generation. One of those was the importance of planning and forward thinking. On land, that meant running through a self-typed checklist before every trip to ensure nothing had been forgotten. On the water, that meant Grandad had relocated hundreds of undersized paua from more exposed areas to cultivate his own backup dive spot. Deborah Woodham, I'd ask you keep that one quiet for your Ministry of Fishery colleagues. While Grandad was patient in many aspects of his life, this did not extend to fishing. Bites were expected to be plentiful and immediate, which I guess is fair for a man of his fishing pedigree. He also had a particular hatred for a southerly wind. Given Grandad is being cremated, I'd suggest someone checks the wind forecast before scattering his ashes. Many of us here will be grateful for the home that he built with Nan at 31 Raumati Road. 3 kids, 8 grandkids, and countless pseudo-grandkids have come through its doors. Perfectly positioned across the road from the school, the kindy, and the college, their house was the after-school base for us and all our friends throughout our schooling lives. The main attraction, other than Nan and Grandad's hospitality, of course, was their back garden, the best backyard cricket pitch this side of the Tasman. A reluctant groundskeeper, Grandad received special requests every summer of how and when to mow the cricket pitch. Grandad took his gardening very seriously, but I don't think this is quite what he had in mind for his retirement. Grandad often also took on the jobs of third umpire, mediator, and sometimes nurse. With such high stakes matches being played, disagreements were plentiful and animated. Whether the third umpire would decide in your favour largely depended on how many of his tomatoes you'd killed, which had lined the back fence boundary. The wickets were a broken crayfish pot that was more rust than metal, and once ended up stuck in my foot when Zach kicked it at me to show his taste for an LBW decision. But don't cry for me too much. Zach also collected a bat around the head on one occasion. Their back deck did not only serve as a pavilion, but also as a platform for many a good party. The drinks and hors d'oeuvres weren't what you'd find at the long room at Lord's, but good honest grub. White bait and power fritters, a few tall cans of round frilly draft filling the fridge. If you were lucky, you might also get to witness one of life's great wonders, Grandad dealing to a crayfish head. Earlier this year, it unfortunately became clear that Grandad's battle with cancer was not one he'd be winning. I therefore decided to make the trip back from London and spend some quality time with him and Nan. It was a privilege to have this time with him and to also attend and support him through some of his hospital appointments. When it came time for me to return to London, it was a particularly difficult goodbye, as we both knew we wouldn't be seeing each other in the same way again. He made me promise that I wouldn't come back from London for a funeral, a promise I had no intention of keeping, but I had one promise for him in return. In his last few months, Grandad was unable to eat as normal and was on a liquid diet from the hospital, which he found particularly difficult. So, unknown to anyone else, Grandad had cooked up some lamb neck chops and watercress from the supermarket and put these in a blender. Safe to say this shortly ended up in the toilet. So I said to him, promise me you don't go through all this cancer nonsense just to go out choking on a bloody reduced to clear lamb chop. Over the last couple of days, I've spent time reflecting on how I remember Grandad. I would often join Grandad on drives down to the beach, not because I was particularly interested at the time, but it was just something to do. We'd do a circuit from Raumati to Paraparaumu Beach to watch any boats come in. Grandad would then pull up beside any returning fisherman, keen to inspect their chili bin and swap stories about trips out to the island. More often than not, he'd be met with a, "Oh, g'day, John," on the rolling down of his window. Grandad was a man who was interested, a man who cared, and a man who loved the people and places that made Kapiti home. Grounded, salt air in his lungs, and keen to share in the success of others. That's how I'll remember him. And somewhere up there, there's an old mate who's been waiting a long time for a drink with his dad.
Yeah.
It's not even for me. Who would have thought? First time ever. Go,
I
Jen.
obviously didn't inherit the tall genes of the family. I'm the shortest of everybody. Okay, here we go. My name is Jenny Butler. John was my uncle. Susie is my mum, Barb's sister, my aunt. Susie and John have both had a significant impact on my life. The two sisters were and still are very close. Dad and John were like brothers. This meant our families spent a lot of time together when we were growing up. There was me, Dave, Scott, and Shelley. My younger brother Mark and Emma came along 7 years later. Suspiciously, they both had another child at the same time. I loved it when we went to visit the Bowmans at 31 Raumati Road. It felt like my second home. We were always welcome with a smile and included in whatever fun stuff was happening at the time. Susie would be in the kitchen, sitting on the stool at the bench with a cup of coffee or a glass of wine, always happy to see us. John would be found in the back garden, mucking around in his garage, trying to fix something, filleting fish, butchering deer, mincing paua or cooking on the barbecue, proudly watching his kids play in the back garden. I'm sure many here today would have experienced the same warm welcome when you went into 31 Raumati Road. The back garden had a hoarder type vibe to it. It was a kid's dream, as there were lots of things to climb on, hit cricket balls against, or generally annoy John when we touched something we shouldn't have. He spoke the Lord's name in vain often. John would take us on adventures up the Mongatuks or on his boat to his diving spots. He shared his love of the great outdoors. We had lots and lots of picnics and barbecues. He was the fun uncle who played practical jokes and tried to make us all laugh. He told really bad jokes. Teasing was one of his favourite pastimes, which sometimes backfired for him. He would load the four of us into his car. Bobby the dog would go in the boot. Dad would drive Mum and Susie in his car, which was handy as John's car was likely to break down. John was never off duty. If he heard the local boy racers racing towards the house, he would run out onto the road with his fist raised, voicing his displeasure. I don't think he ever caught them in the act, but I'm sure he would have caught up with them at another time. Our family moved to Sydney when I was 9. During this time, my granddie passed away and Susie and John adopted Nana. She spent weekends at number 31 for a number of years. When we moved back from Sydney, I was 16. It's fair to say I was not pleased to find myself living in Lower Hutt at the age of 16. I was a grumpy teenager who blamed her dad for ruining her life and didn't speak to him for a year. I started having regular chats with John. He offered advice and helped me navigate the ups and downs of being a teenager. I respected his opinions, and sometimes he would say things that I didn't want to hear. During that time, John took me on an adventure to the Paraparaumu police station. He thought it would be good for me to look at the inside of the cells. I can't remember exactly what he said, but it was something along the lines of making good choices. I eventually stopped being a grumpy teenager and got on with my life. Brian and I got married and we had our 3 boys, Henry, Ned and Stanley. John loved our boys like they were his own grandkids, and Susie still does. John was always a family man who was hoping for a rich farmer with a duck pond for a son-in-law. He was out of luck. He got an Irish businessman, Eddie, and a police officer, Dean. He also got the most amazing daughter-in-law, Penny, who he has always loved like a daughter. When Shelley brought Eddie home for the first time, John thought it would be a great idea to leave his unloaded shotgun propped up inside the bedroom where they were staying. He thought it was funny. Our families remain close, and the next generation of kids have enjoyed our family connection. It gave John great joy to watch the older and younger cousins playing together, and his jokes were still bad. After my dad died 17 years ago, John became my backup dad. We didn't talk about it, it just was. He had promised my dad he would look after Mum, a job he took very seriously. This was not an easy task. Mum and John pushed each other's buttons, but they loved each other dearly. I have been fortunate to have had two great male role models in my life. The first was my dad, Ian Newlands, and the second was John. I am grateful to have had lots of time with John over the last few months. He was still offering me advice last week. "I'm proud of you, Jennifer," he said. He called me Jennifer to annoy both me and Mum, because it's not my name. Again, he thought it was funny. I said to John, "I think he will go and sit on Kapiti Island with Dave." He said, "No, I'll be up in the Mungatuks." I know wherever he is now, he will be watching over his family. The end. Sorry about that.
No, you're all right, mate. That's awesome.
You could stand on there.
No, I got them to lower the other things. How good is that? That is, thank you so much. Daniel and Jen, you've set the bar incredibly high, as well as the microphone, Daniel. So, eulogy, that was tasked to me too. We need to know how John got to where he got to. Born in Christchurch 81 years ago, a son to Colin and Rose, brother to Philip, loving husband to Susan, the Duchess Bowman, one of London's finest. He stole her somewhere along the road, like a lot of things were stolen, something to do with the wharf police, yada yada, best left there. Sue proved to be the ultimate partner for this adventure-loving gentleman, loose term. A very proud and loving dad to Shelley, Emma, and the late Dave Bowman, never to be forgotten. Father-in-law to the Penny B, Dean and Eddie, and new bestie mate to Carl. An involved and loving proud granddad to Daniel, Zach, Kieran, Luke and Shane, Isla, Molly and Paige, plus all their mates and most of Raumati College and most of Paraparam College, Ben, Julia, BG, it goes on and on. He was the duty granddad, umpire and everything that Daniel brilliantly described. A childhood, he tells me, was filled with outdoor adventures at Littleton Harbour, picnics at rivers, lakes and beaches, rabbiting and learning about hunting and local farms. I would have called poaching linesman's call. Graduating from Trentham Police training as a 19-year-old to be sent to the Wharf Police section and finding a happy place amongst characters, interesting work and a growing interest in diving skills and boat work on police business. I'm told that fresh fish, par and crayfish were senior police requirements at the time. Possibly it hasn't changed. Tash, where's she? Like many of us, he was too young and keen to take the never volunteer advice of veterans. So one day he finds himself doing critical rescues with no warning or equipment as something called the Wahine disaster unfolds. We forget, folks, but these storms should remind us. please go and look at the beautifully added in something of some other code that Zach knows the answer to. This will tell you about amazing stories of ordinary folk, ordinary coppers, civilians and New Zealanders who during an incredible storm that affected the whole region, it just so happened a ferry rolled over. John was in the thick of it, having volunteered as a young cop to go out on a harbour vessel, not suited for the purpose, with no equipment or flash gear, just a bit of grit and a lot of courage. Speaking of grit and courage, next came the infamous government dive course. This was when the police were looking to establish a dive squad. Some of us who made their bosses angry in the service I was in would get sent on this course because the Navy hated everybody except the Navy. And they loved putting through unreasonable amounts of stupid things everybody else except the Navy. John was one of these people and became the entertainment for bored petty officers. Wet hell, mud runs, night diving, long runs in heavy gear, barking petty officers who could never be pleased. But grit and innovation, cheating, all the usual things, John passed. On to promotion and adventures in Timaru, growing the family, side hustles with local reserve soldiers that may have included borrowing army vehicles to run a commercial eeling operation. This was at a time when I can vividly remember you could earn more with a shot deer being sold than your salary at the time if you were in the services or the police. So this thriving eeling business was going very well until Sue pointed out he was teaching the kids to swim in an eel farm. I'm sure the kids are still traumatised by that. A chance to go to Christchurch on promotion and back to a city they were comfortable with and had family connections. Sea, skies, the mountains, the Alps, God's own. But then, like a hungry snapper sensing something, a chance to come to Kapiti. John jumped at it, swallowed the bait, and had a much-loved 13-year adventure, he tells us, as the local sheriff. Leading a band of whatever you want to describe that crew as, insert the word that best describes it. He loved the community, he loved the place, the sea, the hills, the mountains. Mana whenua embraced him, and he embraced them. As he said, we were the northern outermost end of the garrison of Wellington. The bullshit couldn't quite get to me by the time we'd sorted everything out, and he loved that. As punishment, he was dragged back to what colloquially is known as Bullshit Castle. Any headquarters of any organisation, by the way, folks, is known as Bullshit Castle. You can probably just work out why. But there he was, back in there, leading frontline cops and loving it. Eventually to become a communications lead there as well. He finished his 36 years in uniform in that location, retiring as an inspector, no mean feat. Now new adventures and 8 years of teaching vital new incident management across the country and valuable training at the school, also with the Rescue Coordination Centre, went on. Another 8 years in service. All done, 44 years of active service to police, his fellow Kiwis and community. Remarkable service. John, you're a man of many roles. You wore many hats, none more proudly than your inspector's cap, which is on the front of this honoured vessel. Also, he served the police as his late son Dave did, as his daughter Emma does, and his son-in-law. There are many others here serving and previous service. We acknowledge you, we thank you. Kia kaha, kia kaha. Let us now look at some moments and some times with some music. Please enjoy.
Don't know much about history. Don't know much biology. Don't know much about a science book. Don't know much about the French I took. But I do know that I love you. And I know that if you love me too, what a wonderful world this would be. Don't know much about geography. Don't know much trigonometry. Don't know much about algebra. Don't know what a sliding rule is for. But I do know 1 and 1 is 2. And if this one could be with you, what a wonderful world this would be. Now, I don't claim to be an A student, but I'm trying to be. For maybe by being an A student, baby, I can win your love for me. Don't know much about history. Don't know much biology. Don't know much about a science book. Don't know much about the French I took. But I do know that I love you. And I know that if you love me too, what a wonderful world this would be. La ta 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 ta. History. Biology. Well, la ta 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 ta. French I took. Yeah, but I do know that I love you. And I know that if you love me too, what a wonderful world this would be.
Now, folks, you'll be very pleased to know the next speakers won't be under oath. Relax, Patty. We're going to hear from some colleagues of John's. First, retired Detective Senior Sergeant Patty Doyle. We're very pleased to also have Mr. Rodney Bracefield, retired recently from Rescue Coordination Centre around the search and rescue side of life. And then fittingly set up by Marty Fox has been the lovely Tony, who's going to have to read what he wrote. This could go in any direction. So please, folks, could we have opening bat? Patty.
I can certainly relate to your comments, Willie, about being told to be here. That happened to me too. And also, when I sat down to write this, I realised that I've known John and Sue for over 60 years. And I remember 66 Thompson Street, which Sue reminded me of the address, where young policemen used to go for parties and meet ladies. A while ago, when I discovered that John and Sue were living in the Raumati area, which I didn't know, I would call and visit when I was in the vicinity. I continued when John became ill, but 4 or 5 weeks ago now, John rang me. In his own inimitable style, he opened with, "Doyle, I want you to talk about my funeral, about the dive squad." Those who know me know that I am rarely stuck for words, but that opening floored me. So here I am. The squad grew from a dedicated bunch of spear fishermen who happened to be policemen. Among that group at the time were Hoppy Hodges, Stan Hooper, Mark Stevens, Gus Lindstrom, all sadly gone. We thought we might be useful to the police for underwater searching, so with the help of some local lower hut professionals, we obtained our scuba tickets and made ourselves available to the police for underwater search work, and work we did, mostly stolen property and body recoveries. And reminiscing about our experiences, John told me of a body recovery he did from the Waikanae River. I'm pretty sure he did it on his own. The deceased was a young boy. It was around Christmas and no undertaker was available, so he had to take the body of the young lad to Wellington Mortuary in the back of his police car. It was an experience that seared itself into his memory and he never forgot it, often talked about it. We were doing so much work that someone in police headquarters decided we needed to be properly qualified, so in 1967, 6 of us went to the Navy Dive Training School at HMNZS Philomel in Auckland. 6 from Wellington and 6 from Christchurch. The Wellington team were John Bowman, Arthur Frost, Max Courtley, Ron Meekland, John Cagney and myself. John Cagney and I now are the only 2 left from the originals. It's getting a bit lonely. It's fair to say the Navy were not prepared for 12 scuba qualified divers. They usually picked their divers who were lucky to be swimmers, if not, certainly not divers. But it's even more fair to say that 12 policemen were not prepared for the Navy. I note your comments, Woody. We discovered the Navy's approach to diving started with the dictum, frequently repeated, the best insurance for a diver is for them to be supremely physically fit. The Navy did try very hard to achieve that lofty goal. For example, drop and do 10 push-ups immediately if you called your swim fins flippers. Plus, running around the base or in a handy nearby swamp in our rubber suits for about an hour, then jumping off the 42-foot high bow of the retired cruiser Royalist into the harbour, then climb back up the full 42 feet on a conveniently placed Jacob's ladder, the bottom of which was cunningly hung about 2 feet above the sea surface. But the main lesson for us all was to come in an early exercise where we had to dive to examine and describe the top of a large anchor attached to a heavy chain. John was the first, drew the short straw on this one, discovered that the chain disappeared into the mud, surfaced and said, "The chain disappears into the mud, petty officer, sir." "So what?" came a reply, heavily laced with sarcasm. "Okay, we got it. Dig through the mud, nil visibility, and find the thing." John and I often talked about this exercise later because that was where we learnt the difference between sport diving on a nice day and doing a job underwater because it had to be done. It was a real lesson. After 3 weeks, we all qualified as diver basics, allowed to go to 60 feet on CABA gear. The Navy refused to call it scuba. Much work followed, but the 2 major jobs the squad was involved in while John and I were there were the Wahine sinking in April, and I didn't realise that John was involved in the early part of the Wahine sinking, and the crew homicide work in the Waikato River. In the Wahine case, the wreck was made safe by the dive team the day after, and other jobs were done on it. For example, the logbooks recovered from the submerged portion of the bridge, and I think John and Arthur Frost did that. It was a dangerous and a difficult undertaking at the time. And later evidence for the inquiry was recovered from the propellers. The crew homicide was the first time the squad had worked in a large river. It presented many search problems, not the least of which were waterlogged trees bouncing along the bottom out of the murk. But we overcame the problems, and our main contribution was the evidential recovery from the river of Harvey Crew's body and the axle. All through these years, John was an enthusiastic and important member of the team. I had to leave in 74 to take up a new position in Wellington CIB. John remained, but then also had become a launch master. Now, of course, we have the National Police diving team. of which I'm sure there are one or two members here. John Bowman was a man's man. No one was in any doubt about where they stood with John. He told you. Always good-humoured and quick with a joke. Feet firmly planted and practical. His family and friends will miss him. I will miss his cheery, "Doyle, what have you been up to?" and the memories and reminiscing that followed. I just reach into my Irish heritage because there is a poetry / song in Ireland which is very appropriate for today. Let's see if I can get through it. All the comrades that e'er he had are sorry for his going away, and all the family that e'er he loved would wish him one more day to stay. But since it falls unto his lot that he should rise, and we do not, then he'll gently rise and softly call, "Goodbye, and joy be with you all. The likes of him will not pass this way again."
Legendary, Paddy. So grateful. Legends here today. Next person up, please, Mr. Rodney Bracefield.
Good morning, everybody, and new to this type of activity. However, in my former life, I was a manager in the Rescue Coordination Centre in Lower Hutt, and this was where I first met John when he'd completed his police work and he'd taken up the training of SIMS, the Coordinated Instrument Management System, and that was in the early 20s. Shortly after John retired from the police, the SAR sector decided that it needed some trained air observers. This was great timing. John was contacted to become an air observer coordinator. The courses, and later that he was to be known as the Camp Mother, and you'll see why. Air observers are the search and rescue personnel, mainly helicopter operators and volunteers from Landsar, Coast Guard, ambulance and police. These are trained to locate victims both at land and in the sea. Most of this training would take place over the weekend, and training was in groups of 10 to 20 people, with theory on the first day and then practical application of that theory on the next day. This would be taking place either in fixed-wing aircraft or in helicopters. On the flights, the observers were hopefully going out to find the particular targets that John had already organised and placed either on the land or at sea. This depended on the locality to where we were. So some places people were only trained in land observation, or if it was water nearby, it would be land and water. I didn't know, but I now believe, having spoken in the last couple of weeks with the family, that over the years, John had convinced friends and the family to store scarecrow-looking dummies, odd bits of aircraft, and other random bits of pieces in their backyards until he required them for our training. This was a very important part of New Zealand Search and Rescue's commitment to expert training of people performing the task for the Rescue Coordination Centre. John arranged the venues and the flying and fixed-wing aircraft operators that we would be using. He did all the bookings for us to travel to and from the venue. He procured the food for the 2 days, which was one of his real ambitions was to feed us well. He went out and threw the dummies in the water and put the residue of the aircraft and baggage and all that type of thing on the land for the land searchers. He did the scheduling of the aircraft flights and the crewing of the details that would take place during the second day. Some jobs were big, some were small, but he was meticulous in everything he did. If one thing got missed, the whole thing went to custard. Believe me, John arranging for all the food for the 2 days and feeding a mixed bunch of SAR people in some way out place, and then helping us to convince them to get into an aircraft with no wings was some no mean feat on his half. I would have to confess that the team, John and I, loved these trips together. The training took place throughout the whole country, from Kapiti to Bluff, from the East Coast to the West Coast. And over the 4 years that we participated in this, we trained just over 800 air observers. This was a major achievement. Just about everywhere we went, we were lucky as John knew somebody or had worked with somebody, or they had a mate who could source something that was required for the activities. There was always a trusty pair of hands ready to help us if we needed them. This goes to show the respect and friendship that John had engendered throughout his life with people. John worked hard, making a wide contribution to demonstrate that New Zealand was a great place to live in. He adored and was so proud of his Sue, his wife. He also adored his children, their partners, their beloved grandchildren, and the wider family. John welcomed people into his circle in a very generous way. We are all better for knowing him. Thank you, John.
Thank you very much, Rodney. We learn more about this amazing man we're paying tribute to for his service. The last speaker, but certainly not the least, poor Tony Wall, lovely young lady from Dunedin, is told at the last moment, Marty Fox can't be with us today. Marty Fox has written some things that need saying. Tony, you're stepping up to the plate. You're a brave young lady.
Kia ora tātou. I'm Tony Wall, obviously from Dunedin. Absolute privilege to be here. I'm a close whānau friend. And I'll probably apologise now for what I'm about to read out. So thank you, Māori. Just think of me as a big 6'2" male with sparkly blue eyes and an 80s porn star moustache. So I hope I give it justice, Foxy. Foxy, tribute to John. Apologies for not making it in person, having some panel beating done. It's an absolute privilege to be able to speak to you about John here today. I'm here to represent his cops from Paraparaumu during the 80s and 90s to give you an idea of what working for John meant. I was one of his cops back in the day. John was much more to us than just the good boss. He was a mentor, a teacher, a counsellor, and an all-round good bugger. When putting these words together in the last week, I was reminded by a wise mate to remember my audience, as apparently it's been known for many of mine, it's been known for my filter to slip. So cheers, George. On the odd occasion, I neared or perhaps crossed that line. John only had to use one word, Foxy, enough said. A standing joke through the years was that I was often mistaken for his other son. And despite appearances, I was not his illegitimate love child from the early 60s. Although I did ask him a number of times over the years. We had a good laugh about that last week. I often called Dave bro to wind him up. John even mentioned me being his other son to one of Zach's mates just the other day. Anyway, as a lifelong Kapiti coaster in the early 80s, as a young cop based in Porirua, I was often sent up to Paraparamu, sometimes as second man in the I car, PPI. On a night shift, only one main sections in those days, and to cover other shifts. This is when I first met John. Pram was much smaller and somewhat quieter in those days, largely routine with odd bouts of mayhem and serious crime, including the odd gang fight, armed robbery or murder. All hands on deck when that happened. The police station was an old house. It was really small. It had a tiny tea room, a few offices, a watch house, a cell, but it was filled with some real characters: Ollie, Motor Boots, Murph, Flappers, Bron, Ruffy, Yak Yak, the Robs, Bruce and Rangi, to name a few. John was known as Box by some. I remember morning teas crammed around a small table with lots of laughter over our cuppas. As the area grew, so did the station, and it's fair enough to say that when the crop of young, newer cops started during the mid to late 80s, bolstering numbers, the place certainly became more vibrant, with lots more action, and with that, more hijinks. The ethos back then was work hard, play harder, and no one encouraged this more than John. Characters emerging during that time were Medax, CC, Iki, Roo, Bob, Baz, then George, Clippy, Tex, and of course Dave and Marjorie Dipfinger, also known as Dippy. We did have real names, but they were for court purposes only. It's also a fact with the new team, the work increased for John and his trusty 2IC Rowdy, as the local crims didn't like all the attention and so liked to have a whinge about it, mostly to John. Complaints were common, and this was before the IPCA, so were generally dealt with by the local senior sergeant. More on that soon. So a few mild anecdotes. The phone system in those early days was a single landline with multiple internal lines to the various offices. The day watch housekeeper's job was to take the calls and transfer them to the right extension. A very simple system that usually worked well. However, night shifts were often quiet, and at least at the start of the week, so between patrolling, one of our favourite pastimes was to modify the phone system. The internal workings of the little phone switch system could easily be accessed. It was a simple matter of swapping a few wires so that calls were misdirected all over the show. Calls went to Ollie, went to John, and vice versa, but I think most ended up going to John's office, so chaos ensued. Of course, no one coughed to ever doing it, and John would come out steaming, sometimes naming a suspect, but we were all innocent, of course. The other thing with the phones, desk type with dials on the front for you younger people, is that with the handset, you could unscrew both the mouthpiece and the earpiece covers quite easily. John's phone was often a target. We'd either take the cover off, add a layer of sellotape to the microphone, replace the cover, and each subsequent night add another layer. This muted either the outgoing voice or incoming call's voice. John was often heard yelling into the phone, "Speak up, I can't hear you," or someone on the other end saying the same to him and having to yell. Another favourite prank was interfering with uniforms left out by the dry cleaner, with pockets, sleeves and hems often sewn up, with John not exempt. Funny trying to pull trousers on that were sewn up. John was always pretty easygoing and took these pranks well, and if he did get wound up, it was mostly from an external source such as the district commander. He often used to go to a colour that reminded you of a pressure vessel about to explode, ranting about the latest stupid edict from above. But he took all our practical jokes in his stride, never harboured grudges, although I do remember the transgressors always seemed to get selected for the not so pleasant tasks, so he always got some payback. Back to the phones. Another great trick was colouring in his phone's earpiece, usually with a purple felt tip pen, and so the longer he held it to his ear, the warmer it got and the runnier the ink became, eventually painting his ear. The number of times he'd be walking around with a purple ear, it's a wonder he never checked first. When pointed out, he'd yell out his suspect's name, usually Edgehall or Fox. A regular ritual for John was to wander over to the bakery to grab a pie for lunch, always in full uniform wearing his forage cap. After some time, it became too tempting for me, so one day I used the aforementioned purple felt pen on the sweatband of his cap. Looking resplendent in his uniform, he'd come back into the station, remove his cap, and have an awesome purple forehead for several hours. Fox! Looking back, it was remarkable. He was the senior sergeant, we were the lowly constables. It was really a vast gap in the hierarchy in those times, but he always took these pranks with such great humour. Despite all this, we had huge respect for him and generally knew where the line was. I remember on one of my relieving late shifts in the early 80s, we had a high mileage Commodore around 300 Ks on the clock, and it was knackered. He couldn't get a new car until this one died, so he instructed us to kill it. Mission accepted. Kapiti Road in those days was 100k past the airport, and so returning from picking up a feed, I headed back to the station doing the speed limit in first gear. Amateur's mistake, for the car did in fact shit itself just past the airport, meaning I walked back to the station with fish and chips getting cold. Still, mission accomplished. John respected hard workers and really loved it when we'd be out there looking up the bad guys. We had a mongrel mob in town back then. They disappeared under his watch. And quite a few bad burglars, so any time we'd bin one or more of them, he was always pleased. Congratulation usually involved cold amber fluids. We were very fortunate there weren't mobile phones or digital cameras back then, as some of the policing methods judged today may be viewed as unorthodox or a little bit rough at best. As a result, as mentioned, there were numerous complaints made about us, mainly to John, who had the unenviable task or job of taking statements off some of these individuals. He would then interview us and figure out how to credibly write the complaint off. He had one rule for his teams: don't bullshit him. Tell him what happened, be upfront, and he'll have your back every time. He said to me last week, all his best cops got the most complaints. It meant we were targeting the right people, I guess. There were a few individuals who featured more than others in the complaint stakes, but he saw how effective we were at taking local criminals off the street, never taking a backward step. So he backed us every time. The word unfounded appeared in his reports often. This loyalty went both ways, and anything he asked of us, we'd willingly do. I recall at one point, Medex and I came up with a master plan for him and I to team up together as permanent partners on section. However, when we presented ourselves in John's office and laid out the said master plan, the first look on his face was absolute horror. I'm sure he had an instant vision of the havoc we'd create, leading to his early departure from office. We'd be wading chest deep in complaints. After serious consideration, lasting perhaps 3 seconds, he laughed out loud in our faces and said the words along the lines of, "There's no way in hell I'm letting you two work together ever." Quite astute and probably career-saving for the both of us. John always supported an active social club, for want of a better word. I introduced the first jug book for misdemeanors at work in about 1986, and the jug sessions that grew from this were legendary. John actively supported them, usually and wisely leaving immediately after the jug session as things become more disorderly. Still, it was a safe environment in the confines of the police station meal room. Occasionally at our Christmas do remember Bright's Farm jug session, ? And the mess and or damage was generally cleaned up before the next day. We gave him headaches for sure, but he loved it. One night shift, Marty Edgehall, that bloody Edgehall, and I were returning from visiting a late night drug plantation stakeout in Reikorangi. We were in a new Falcon, only 10 10,000 Ks on the clock, and being young and dumb, but thinking I could drive like Mario Andretti, I put it over a bank at a bend called Devil's Elbow. Rolled it 3 times, and then during the recovery of it, it went down a second slope when the tow truck strop broke. Not a straight panel remained. Oops. The corner was renamed Foxy's Foley for some time after that. I was so worried about upsetting John for breaking his new car that I stayed up until he came in at 8 a.m. to break the news to him and fess up. I was, oh God, the whole thing. But as usual, he was really cool about that. I can say that I learned so much about what good leadership looks like from John, and that really helped me in life and the various roles I've had. We respected him greatly, although from the few anecdotes it may appear otherwise, but he was the sort of person who enjoyed a good laugh and gave as good as he took. He was always supportive, encouraging me in vain to take exams and promotion, and he always had my back. I owe him a huge debt of gratitude. He was the ultimate hunter-gatherer and eventually forgave me for shooting an animal he too was lining up at the same time. His fishing trips were always fun, although often fraught with mishaps, breakdowns, and other hilarity. We've stayed in regular contact over the years through good and not so good times, but he and Sue were always so welcoming and would always be laughing about events from years gone by, catching up on family, work and sport. I'm so pleased to have been able to spend time with him in his last week, sharing the photos from that era, old war stories about people we both valued, some we did not, but lots of laughs. He was still sharp as a tack, and although way too early, he's gone out on his terms. Rest in peace, John. I'd like to think you'll be fishing and hunting with Dave on the other side, a beer in your hand and a big smile on your chops. I'll never forget you. Thank you.
What a great effort. Thank you so much, Tony. And now, a song especially chosen by John for obvious reasons, with images to suit.
On a warm summer's evening, on a train bound for nowhere, I met up with a gambler. We were both too tired to sleep, so we took turns of staring out the window at the darkness till boredom overtook us, and he began to speak. He said, "Son, I've made a life out of reading people's faces and knowing what the cards were by the way they held their eyes. So if you don't mind my saying, I can see you're out of aces. For a taste of your whiskey, I'll give you some advice." So I handed him my bottle, and he drank down my last swallow. Then he bummed a cigarette and asked me for a light, and the night got deathly quiet, and his face lost all expression. Said, "If you're gonna play the game, boy, you gotta learn to play it right. You got to know when to hold up, know when to fold up, know when to walk away, and know when to run. You never count your money. When you're sitting at the table, there'll be time enough for counting when the dealing's done." Every gambler knows that the secret to surviving is knowing what to throw away, knowing what to keep. 'Cause every hand's a winner and every hand's a loser, and the best that you can hope for is to die in your sleep. And when he finished speaking, he turned back toward the window, crushed out a cigarette, faded off to sleep. And somewhere in the darkness, the gambler, he broke even. But in his final words, I found an ace that I could keep. You got to know when to hold up, know when to fold up, know when to walk away, and know when to run. You never count your money. When you're sitting at the table, there'll be time enough for counting. When the dealing's done, you got to know when to hold up, when to hold up, know when to fold up, know when to walk away, and know when to run. You never count your money. When you're sitting at the table, there'll be time enough for counting. When the dealing's done, you got to know when to hold up, know when to fold up, know when to walk away, and know when to run. You never count your money. When you're sitting at the table, there'll be time enough for counting. When the deal is done.
Folks, there's been a lot said. Everybody has a memory of this man, John Morris Bowman. I would invite you all now just to take a few moments. On the back of this beautiful accompaniment to the service, which you may take away as a souvenir, there's a poem here for John, one of the good ones. If you just take a moment and just perhaps reflect, have a read of that, maybe say a prayer sneakily without letting John know, if that's your preference, or just take a few moments to think about what has been said. Just a little bit of reflection. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. We're now approaching the closing of this really special opportunity to share. It's been amazing. You've contributed brilliantly. We've heard John's life. We started thinking about nature and what it means, the word service. His lifelong love of his family, community, nature, the outdoors, in all its moods, its seasons and forms, and a wonder of how and why it happened. We've learned about the many quiet achievements and many demanding sacrifices John, and most importantly his family, and especially Sue, carried quietly in the background on behalf of John. As we close, we're farewelling this special person in our lives, a man who for me represents all that service means. John, you put others before yourself. You put in a big shift. Please now rest, stand down. Allow yourself to be with loved ones who've passed before you and ancestors. He tangata, he tangata, he tangata.
The road is long, with a many a winding tongue that leads us to who knows where, who knows where. But I'm strong. My brother, so on we go. His welfare is my concern. No burden is he to bear. We'll get there. My brother, if I'm leaning at all, I'm leaning with sadness that everyone's heart isn't filled with the gladness of love for one another. It's a long, long road from which there is no return. While we're on the way to there, why not share? And the Lord doesn't weigh me down at all. He ain't heavy, he's my brother. He's my brother. my high boots, got all my worldlies here in a sack. Looking for something, knowing that it